city of Bobruisk is one of the most ancient and beautiful cities of Belarus. It is situated on the right bank of the full-flowing Berezina River, where the Bobruiska River flows into. During its whole history, Bobruisk has been a major economic, military and political center. Today, it is a key transportation, industrial and cultural center, a glorious city, pleasant to live in and convenient to relax. It is a city with a centuries-old rich history. Bobruisk is a city subordinate to regional administration. It is the center of the Bobruisk district. It is situated 110 kilometers away from the regional center, the city of Mogilov. Highways and railways in the direction of Minsk, Gomel, Mogilov, Kalinkovich, Slutsk and Rogachev go via Bobruisk. There is also a port on the Berezina River. The population of Bobruisk is about 220,000 people. The city celebrated its 620th anniversary in the year 2007. The highlights of the festivities are celebrations in honor of the veterans of the Great Patriotic War and front-rank workers. Unveiling of the City Board of Fame, theatricalized shows, bright concert programs of the international festival, the Garland of Friendship, and colorful days of Chinese culture. They will long remain in the memory of the citizens of Bobruisk and visitors. The archaeological excavations that have been made by Belarusian scientists prove that people lived in this area already in the middle of the first millennium BC. Good weather conditions and advantageous position of elevation over the surrounding country contributed to the emergence of settlements and later of the city of Bobruisk. As far back as the 11th century, there already existed a Dragovichi settlement at the inflow of the Bobruiska River into the Berezina River. According to the Slavic tradition, the settlement was named after the smaller river that flew into the bigger one. The exact year of the foundation of Bobruisk is not known. However, the first mentioning of the city in written documents refers to the year 1387. It had different names: Bobrovsk, Bobruisk, Bobruisk. Historical chronicles run that at the time of the Kievan Prince Vladimir, on the site of today's city of Bobruisk, there was a village whose inhabitants were involved in fishing and beaver hunting, and that on the banks of the Berezina and Bobruiska, fishermen and beaver hunters huddled together. Beaver furs were very precious then, and foreign merchants bought them willingly. At the beginning of the first millennium, there already existed a waterway along the Berezina River, and local population maintained trade links with many countries, including the faraway Rome. In the 1940s, Bobruisk becomes part of the Great Duchy of Lithuania. The city belonged to two brothers simultaneously, to Grand Duke Algirdas and Kęstutis, Prince of Trakai. According to the agreement between the brothers, who were overburdened with authority, Bobruisk and the rural district around were divided into two parts: the Vilna and the Trakai halves that were legally and administratively subordinated to the Vilna and the Trakai keys. institutions that collected and kept copper tribute. This lasted till the second half of the 16th century. Then they belonged to the Radzivills, the Gashtolds and the Triznas. According to the inventory of 1626, there were 15 streets, 2 lanes, 409 estates, 75 shops, a mill, an Orthodox church and a Catholic church in the city. The treasures found in bobruisk testify that the city had energetic trade links. At various periods, coins were found in bobruisk that were minted in Poland, Grand Duchy of Lithuania, Russia, Spain, the Netherlands and many other countries. Like any rich city, Bobruisk was remarkably well fortified in the Middle Ages. On the top of the hill near the dock there was a wooden castle. The city was surrounded by a 3-kilometer-long wall with 10 towers. You could get inside through one of the 4 gates: Lower Gate, Svislach Gate, Kisilov Gate and Pond Gate. In 1502, soldiers of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania defeated detachments of Crimean and Ackerman Tatars in the vicinity of the city, 7 kilometers away down the Usa River.
В 1648 году с Украины сюда пришел, как и в другие города Беларуси,
In 1648, one of Khmelnytsky's detachments, under the Cossack chieftain Podubny's command, came here, as well as to other Belarusian cities. They managed to seize the city. They killed the well-off nobility, drowned the city head, and seized power in the city with the help of the local poor. A detachment was sent to suppress the rebellion, but it was a failure. 2 weeks later, 2 more detachments of Lithuanian soldiers came to the city walls. However, Podubny's Cossacks and local population repelled the attack. In January 1649, Janusz Radziwill, hetman of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, comes to the city with his army himself. Trying not to lose soldiers in a head-on attack, the nobleman used a trick. He sent scouts to the local clergy, who opened the gates of the city at night in return for their lives. 1648 started bleak times for Belarusian lands. The uprising of Ukrainian Cossacks was followed by a prolonged war between the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and Muscovy, which historians call a bloody deluge. Only in the second half of the 18th century, the general economic recovery in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth affected Bobruisk, and it again regained the status of a city, and according to some sources, got Magdeburg privileges. However, it did not manage to make use of the advantages of self-administration. After the second division of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1793, Bobruisk, along with other Belarusian cities, became part of the Russian Empire and, in 1795, acquired the status of an uyezd, district city, within the Minsk gubernia. A year later, Bobruisk got its coat of arms from the emperor. Its symbols are closely connected with the building up of the Russian fleet on the Black and the Baltic Seas that required loss of mass timber. Since the end of the 18th century, there existed in Russia the so-called Jewish Pale, which banned Jews from living in the central provinces. In addition, the imperial authorities tried to have Jews move from the countryside to the cities. A flow of Jewish population poured into Bobruisk, and with their arrival, trade revived along with services, as one would say today. During the war with Napoleon, Bobruisk Jews supported the Russian army. From generation to generation, the inhabitants of the city passed the story of the Jewish tenant Nisan Katznelson, who informed the Cossacks about the approach of the French army. In 1886, Jews initiated the establishment of the first fire brigade in the city. Bobruisk was made of wooden houses, and fires were a real disaster. In 1854, the city burned down completely, and 20 years later there was again a big fire. 150 houses were burnt down. The insurance company even refused to insure houses not to get burned. 200 people, mainly Jews, became volunteers of the first fire brigade.
В 1902 году царь принял решение своим указом.
By his decree of 1902, the Tsar made the decision to build a fire brigade depot in the city of Bobruisk and to build only brick houses in the center of the city. From that time on, the whole downtown area of Bobruisk was made of brick. The fire brigade building behind me was also built in 1903. In honor of this fire brigade, the Tsar's silver sign was established. Whole Bobruisk architectural layout was determined by 2 directions that start at the market square. One of them ran into the road to Parichi, and the other went along the Berezina River and then ran into the road to Minsk. Residential areas, mainly of the right outline, were situated between these two streets. Near the square, there was a boat river crossing to the left bank. The road to Rogachov started there. Thus, the city center was a kind of crossing of three roads, and the city itself looked like a half oval resting on the river. This naturally made layout was taken into consideration, regulated and developed in the process of the urban redevelopment at the beginning of the 19th century. In 1800, the city's first prospective layout was made. The construction of the city until 1810 was made in accordance with it. Redevelopment of the city coincided with building powerful fortifications that turned the city into a fortress. Today, archaeological excavations and large-scale reconstruction are being made on the territory of the Bobruisk fortress. At the beginning of the year 2008, the famous Minsk gates and the cast-iron double-headed eagle, a symbol of the Russian Empire that decorated the arch of the gate, were excavated. Specialists study all the findings in great detail. All the precious artifacts will be exhibited at the Museum of Local History. It is planned to construct a modern entertainment and cultural complex on the territory of the fortress. The building of the Bobruisk Arena, an immense construction for the city, was a powerful stimulus in this work.
Это место выбрано принципиально именно в Бобруйской крепости. Почему? Потому что вот такие объекты, когда строятся, они...
This place has been selected in the Bobruisk fortress not by chance. Why? Because when such construction projects are being built, they involve all other objects that are situated around. By now, we have placed an order to make a detailed plan of the fortress. It means the plan of the regeneration of the Bobruisk fortress. According to the plan, housing will be built here in compliance with the peculiarities of the 19th century architecture. Everything will correspond to that period. By agreement with the Ministry of Culture and the Research Institute of City Planning, we determined the target use of the buildings. There will be restaurants, hotels, shops and entertainment centers here.
Например, наличие в, скажем, здании, к примеру, развлекательного центра никоим образом не будет влиять на архитектуру.
Let's return to the beginning of the 19th century. Thanks to the construction of the Bobruisk fortress, the chronicles began to call Bobruisk a warrior city. During the preparation of Russia for the war with Napoleon, there started the construction of a first-class fortress that was to be one of the best in Europe. Thousands of soldiers and serfs from the Mogilov, Minsk and Chernigov gubernias took part in building the fortress. It had to keep 16,000 people in it. No other fortress in Russia was as useful as the Bobruisk one in 1812, wrote Major General Mikhailovsky-Danilevsky in his book Heroes of the Patriotic War. When the war started, there was only one reserve division there under the command of the artillery Major General Gavril Alexandrovich Ignatiev. It was busy with construction work. Having no orders from his commandment, Ignatiev proclaimed himself head of the fortress's garrison and informed the local uyezds, districts, that he was the military governor of Bobruisk. By the summer of 1812, the bastions of the fortress had already been made, and 3